Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's episode, we're talking about a teetotal loss on one of the plots that we've got, or is it? I'm going to show you exactly how to determine if your plot is completely lost and you need to abandon ship, or if you should stick with this crop, try to do some management things this summer, and hold out and see what happens for next year. So what we're talking about today is switchgrass. You can see we're in the trials that I've got going on right now. You can see some switchgrass, or where some switchgrass should be. Egyptian wheat behind that, corn, and then the next group that's smaller back there is soybean, sunflowers, cowpeas, and lab. Okay, so this is a big trial that we're doing across 1,800 acres. And this is something that I wanted to bring to you guys, because since I started the channel, it's been very important to me to bring you guys the good, the bad, the ugly. It's very easy for me just to share with you the successes, but that's not real life stuff right there. That is just kind of sugarcoating things. And I think it's very important to show folks the successes and the failures, the things that make us learn, the things that help us learn as we go along the way. So today's episode, we're going to talk about this switchgrass that should be in here, and we're going to talk about whether it's still viable or not. My name is Wes. I run the channel DIY Food Plot Pro. I've got a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy. I farm for a living. I've got an 1,800 acre whitetail deer hunting outfitter in Western Kentucky where we cannot bait. So we rely heavily on these food plots that I plan on the channel to hold and harvest the mature bucks that we're blessed to hunt here in Western Kentucky. Got the new t-shirts on. This is something that you like. You can go to the website and check that out. That's my shameless plug for them. Here's what we did with this. We sprayed this twice with Roundup, once in the early spring, once right before planting the switchgrass. We made sure the soil temperatures were warm. All winter long, I was constantly putting this switchgrass seed freezer to outside the freezer, freezer, outside the freezer, stratifying that seed, because I think it was about 50% of that seed was considered hard seed. That helps to stratify that seed, give you a little bit higher germination rate. So that's something that I really recommend to folks when they plant switchgrass, is that they get that in early, they get that in the freezer, and they do that freeze-thaw cycle, freeze-thaw cycle. What you're doing is you're mimicking what Mother Nature does, and by doing that, you can have a much higher germination rate than what's on the actual bag. So we came out here and we sprayed Roundup in the early spring just to get rid of some of the grasses, some of the weeds that were starting to emerge. And then it kept it pretty clean up until planting time. So right before planting time, we went in and we sprayed Roundup again, and then we drilled switchgrass with our hay buster drill. And I drilled this at 8 pounds per acre. One thing about switchgrass is when you're planting it, you don't want to plant it too deep. It really just needs to be just on the very tip top of the ground. It's about as deep as you want to get it. And then let a rain kind of wash that down in there, and you'll be off to the races. I planted all this at the same time. The switchgrass, the Egyptian wheat, the corn, soybeans, lab, all that stuff. No question about it, the slowest to germinate, to come up, to start growing is the switchgrass out of all of them. I mean, you could grow every single thing out here in the field except the switchgrass within, I'd say, a week or 10 days. The switchgrass was closer to 2 weeks before I started to see what I thought was switchgrass coming out of some of the drill lines. The corn has already reached canopy where it's kind of shading things in. The Egyptian wheat, which is this first row, I don't know if you can see the color difference, but there's a little bit lighter color for about 10 feet. It looks like corn, but it's not. That's Egyptian wheat right there, and then where the dark green starts is corn. So the switchgrass is very slow growing. It's not gonna outcompete things like pigweed or foxtail or any other weeds or grasses that are trying to grow in that plot. It's just not going to compete with them. It grows off so much slower than anything else. It's very similar to a clover that we plant in the fall, where it's trying to put its roots down and it's trying to get established so that for next year it will be ready to go. Switchgrass has very deep roots. That's what the majority of the energy is going to right now, is root production for switchgrass. It's not going for the vegetative production like corn, Egyptian wheat, soybeans, things like that. This is mainly going to the roots right now. That's why it's so slow growing. We have been overtaken by Roundup resistant pigweeds out here. I've really got 3 options out here that I can do. Now, many of you that have watched the channel for a long time, I built a wick applicator boom to go on my side-by-side. I could come out here and I could wick this pigweed and grass and kill it. right? I'm probably going to get a little bit off target and hit some of my switchgrass by doing that, but that is an option out here because the pigweeds are 18 inches to 2 feet tall. Most of the switchgrass that I found is at the 4-leaf stage, so it's about 5 to 6 inches tall is what it is. Some of it is 2 inches tall, some of it's 4 or 5 inches tall. But if I came out here with my wick bar, I could definitely get rid of these pigweeds by setting that wick bar down about 18 inches and going over it. But I would have some off target and I would kill some switchgrass by doing that. The next thing that I could do is I could just completely abandon ship and I could disc this up and forget about it or replant it or whatever. And so the reason that I don't like that is because switchgrass is never a short-term play. It's always a long-term play. You should never expect great results out of your switchgrass the first year. It just doesn't happen that way. I wished it did, but switchgrass is not that way in the fact that it just grows off very, very, very slowly. So don't expect too much out of your switchgrass the very first year. The second, the third year is when you're really going to start seeing a big benefit to that switchgrass, okay? The first year, it just kind of sits there and puts its roots underneath it. The third thing that we can do is what I'm gonna do here. And we're gonna go out here and we're gonna mow this stuff down, right? We're not gonna set the deck down to where we're cutting the switchgrass off. We're gonna mow it 6 to 8 inches tall and we're gonna mow off all these pigweeds. And all we're gonna do by that is stress them out and keep them from going to seed. That's all that we're looking for to do in this. We're not trying to come out here and to mow this down to 2 inches tall and stress everything out here. We're trying to keep the pigweeds from going to seed until we can spray them. 2,4-D will kill these pigweeds. The problem is a lot of this switchgrass is not to that stage to where I can spray the 2,4-D right now. 2,4-D is a broadleaf killer. It doesn't mess with grasses typically, but with young grasses, it can hurt them, stunt their growth. So it's not a risk that I'm willing to take right now. There's nothing wrong with this switchgrass. There's a lot of switchgrass down in this right here. It's starting to get shaded out by a lot of these other weeds and grasses that are competing against it, and it's also putting its roots down, so it's just not growing super fast right now. And so what we can do is we can come in here and we can mow this down a little bit and keep these pigweeds from going to seed. We're going to be much better off doing that than we were to come in here and try to do a herbicide application or try to restart this entire process. This is a long-term play every single time, so don't think that it's going to be magically 4 or 5 feet tall the first year and do exactly what you want to do, something like Egyptian wheat. It's not going to do that. It takes time to do this. So I've been getting this question an awful lot on switchgrass from a lot of my consulting clients and a lot of guys just reaching out on the YouTube channel, and it takes a little while to get there. So don't freak out when it looks terrible like mine does right now. I mean, this looks absolutely awful. I hate to even sit here and look at this right now, but this is part of the process when you're trying to raise switchgrass. It takes a little bit of time to get this stuff up and get it established. We can come in late in the fall and we can go ahead and do a herbicide application at that point once our switchgrass has gotten up tall enough that we can make sure that we're not going to kill any of that switchgrass. We're looking for the 3 to 5 collar stage on the switchgrass. I always prefer to stay on the higher end of that, so I'm looking for 5 collars. Most of what I'm finding out here right now has 4 collars on it, but I have found some that's got 2 collars on it. If I was to spray 2,4-D right now, that switchgrass that's in the 2 collar phase is going to be hurt pretty bad by this 2,4-D, so I'm not willing to do that right now. We just let it ride even though it looks awful. Just keep it mowed down a little bit throughout the summer, and then we will do a herbicide application sometime in September, and we will go ahead and kill these pigweeds, knock them all back, make sure they don't go to seed. And then next spring, you will be shocked how much better your switchgrass looks than what it does right now. So if you need help setting up your deer hunting farms, you can go to my website, www.diyfoodplotpro.com. There are many different products that you can click on. I've got a boots on the ground visit. I've got a video series. There's a lot of different things to help land managers and owners out. So if that's something that interests you, you can go to www.diyfoodplotpro.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all smash that like and subscribe button.